Ssm. Hey, congratulations for Take the Night.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
So exciting to see the fruits of your labor coming out today, right
Oh,
now, in fact, right?
yes. Yes, out in theaters right now, in select theaters and on streaming and VOD. So it's cool. It's out there.
Most excellent. Well, let's ask that obligatory question everybody asks. It's like, what attracted you to a project like this? Because this is not an easy project for anyone.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely not. And I think it was just that was exactly it. It was like, wow, I've never done anything quite like this. And also a huge part of it for me was also seeing the AAPI representation, seeing a Chinese family at the core of this story. I thought that it was just so crazy to start seeing projects like these being developed and wanting to be made. And it's that to me really stood out, and I was like, that's really cool. That's definitely something that I wanted to be a part of as well, growing up and just being such a big advocate for API representation. I was like really happy and ecstatic to be a part of it.
Now, of course, Take the Night is a different type of story, as you were mentioning that, being part of the API representation. But I want to take note that it's not just, API on this case. It's also a non-stereotypical Asian
Yes.
story. I mean,
Yes.
talk about that. I mean, because even though it has action scenes, we're not talking about like, kung fu
It's not
or,
martial. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's some of my favorite like API projects are ones where it's like, actually, no, that could just be any family. That it like their ethnicity isn't the centerpiece of the story, right? Because I think that's where sometimes you run into maybe some issues with wanting to eccentricize, I don't know if that's a word, but eccentricize the culture you're portraying, right? And so I thought that was really cool. Like one of my favorite films ever that had API representation was John Cho's film. Oh my God, I'm totally losing the name. It was done all on Zoom or on a computer. Do you
Oh, okay,
remember?
yeah, yeah.
Searching, yes. And I remember watching interviews with the filmmaker, and he was like, this could have been any family. It wasn't exclusive to a Korean family. And I thought the same thing of like, wow, it's really cool that, it's this really could have been any family. Anybody could have been Chang Imports, but I do think it was really unique to just put us on the map as like, actually, no, we're part of Chinese Americans, Asian Americans, the API community. We're also a part of society. So I just thought that was really, really special.
Now, how relatable is this type of family relationship or character to you?
Uh I think very, very relatable. I think especially because we tend to because I grew up with siblings, and so having that kind of sibling rivalry, that sibling tension is so universal to people who have siblings, and at the core, it's like such a beautiful sibling story, really, if you think about it. If you think about how those undertones. I mean, it's obviously a fun, really thrilling movie, but also, those undertones, I think, is what makes it really pop out. And I remember watching the movie with my sister and my family, and there were just moments where we just looked at each other. What? You relating to this? You see, like getting flashbacks. It was cool. It was fun.
Now, tell us about the developing the chemistry with Roy, who plays your brother on
Yeah,
screen in this case.
I mean, it's so easy. He's just such a talented guy, and I felt like there was no need. I mean, we just had to, it was like acting like we didn't have to like each other, which is great. That's easy, I guess. And actually, no, it's hard because he's so likable as a person behind the scenes, behind the camera. Like he is just such an incredible person, and so good of a human being. The way he talks about his family, his son, just his life. Really, I thought it was just really really, I looked up to him a lot actually, as like quite literally an older brother figure. But yeah, no, he's really great, and I thought it was really easy to just bounce off of him. It was hard. It was very hard. The most sincere scenes was I don't want to spoil anything, but it was easy too. It was easy. He made it very easy, and we're both really great, talented actors. So yeah.
It's funny. I spoke to him recently, and he has long hair, and I have to say, your hair is also longer than.
Yeah, yeah. All of us. It's been a few years.
Well, most excellent. Hey, I read your background because you have like a funny social media presence, and I want to know is like going from a comedic background into a film like this. How do you make a transition, or is it easy to make this change?
That great question, because I actually think it's very nuanced. It's very situational. It depends on who you are as a person and how where you're at in life. I think for some people, for sure, there's more of a transition. But funny enough, I had always been, I'd always wanted to be an actor. I'd always really wanted to focus on acting, but I think I just found a niche in social media comedy, in digital comedy. And so, I feel like sometimes I live two lives, where I'm like being this goofball that everybody sees me on social media, because that's what I think is one of my specialties. I think I just naturally gravitate towards that. I think people really like that. But then by night, my living my two lives, I have my self-tape backdrop, and I'm doing these dramatic emotional scenes. I'm bawling in tears, so it's always really fun to talk to people who have seen both sides of me, because I always feel like they're pleasantly surprised, and I take an enormous amount of pride in being able to do that. So yeah, training is the key. Yes.
So how do you choose your projects, or do you try to keep these these two separate as part of your life?
Sorry, what do you mean by that? Because I think it's kind of
how do you choose your project? Do you like gravitate saying, you know what, I like to do drama and stuff, but I like to do comedy for social media, and you keep it separate, or just circumstances?
I think it's just circumstances and my availability, because I think if I have an opportunity to perform, I will. And but I do think I prioritize like acting theatrical projects more so than my social media projects. Like, I think if there was ever a schedule conflict, I don't think I would blow off an opportunity to perform theatrically with a great crew. If I knew that project was going to end up being really cool and really special, I wouldn't. I think I wouldn't be like, oh, I can't do that because I have to shoot comedy videos for my social media. I love doing internet comedy, but for me, that's more of a hobby. If I can make it one. I do think that settling into a character is why I fell in love with the digital space, with acting and media and film, telling stories,
Now let's talk about the story for Take the Night, because it's basically a kidnapping gone wrong, but I never heard of a kidnapping gone right in any of these surprises, so I never really understood these type of stories.
Yeah. I think that's why I was like, when I was reading it, I was like, oh, that is interesting to play. That's gonna be really fun to portray, because I also like, I had, when I was reading it, I was like, oh man, I have to act like I'm like about to die. Like, I'm like, this is terrifying. This is like, this is really a horror movie for me, So I thought it was really fun to settle into that and to play a part in that. I thought that was actually surprisingly fun and challenging in its own right. Yeah.
So what uncomfortable position did Seth put you in that you felt most unease in this film?
No, Seth did a great job of really making sure I wasn't super uncomfortable or anything like that. I think if anything was more on myself. I think I made it harder for myself, because I remember doing some of these kidnapping scenes, and I was like, guys, don't be rough with me. Like, oh, wait. Be rough with me. Don't be gentle with me. I want it to look as real for all of you guys as possible. So like, let's just choreograph it and make sure you're not like hurting me, obviously, but feel free to really kind of get in there. And for the most part, it was okay. You know, I got some bumps and bruises sometimes when I was getting shoved, but I remember there was one day where I was getting dragged through the abandoned through like some buildings, and I was getting dragged, and it wasn't even like any specific kidnapping part, but I just remembered telling them that, and they were like, yeah, we got you. And then they were holding me by the armpits, and I just remember being so tense and trying to fight them for my life, and just feeling and feeling like horrified, right? And feeling like terrified. And my armpits just got so bruised the next day, and was like, oh, it was just, I just remembered, yeah, the next day I was like, okay, we probably should go a little more gentle.
All for the sake of art, your
Yes.
sacrifices.
Yes, and it looks amazing, and it looks great.
Wow. Well, one more important scene that we saw in the trailer and so on. I want to talk about how realistic is that car chase scene that you got to be a part of.
Are you saying like in general or behind the scenes, like movie magic?
Behind the scenes, yeah, like when you actually were sitting in that car.
It was it's funny because I watched the film, you know, recently, and it looked freaking incredible, super thrilling. I mean, they got like stunt drivers from like huge hits of driving movies to do the driving sequences for those scenes, and it looked, I was so like in it, you know, watching it as a viewer. But funny enough, I didn't even get to be in the car during those scenes. I wasn't even really allowed to be around because it was kind of like a closed, kind of dangerous sort of scenario. So I didn't get to see it at all. We got to shoot in the car. We got to shoot in the Lambo. But we did that like stationary, like in a parking lot with just practical effects. So I was totally fooled, but it did not feel scary or intimidating at all. I just got to focus on acting, which is actually probably better.
Oh, sadness. So you didn't even get to drive or nothing with that car.
Nope.
Wow, Sam. Well, let me wrap it up with one more question, because yeah, I want to know what's next in line for yourself, because you've done a lot of great projects before.
Yeah. The next one is one that I'm actually super excited for, very, very stoked for. It's for a Netflix series called The Brother's Son. I was cast to play one of the Son brothers in this project called The Brother's Son, and it is going to be crazy. It's really fun action comedy gangster drama. Yeah, I'll say that one more time. Action comedy gangster drama. It is so genre bending, and it's gonna be so fun to just see come to life. We're in the thick of it right now, and people are loving it, and you could tell it's like one of those things where when you're making something special, it's like, oh, it's gonna be special.
Wow, that is terrific. I can't wait to see that film too.
Yeah.
So Sam, hey, congratulations for Take the Night that is out today, and thank you for this conversation. And
thank you.
I miss that long hair. It's summertime. I have to go shorter, so I don't know how.
Not even my choice.
Even my brother has long hair, and I'm like going the opposite direction with all my Asian brethren. But you know, I'll have to grow it long too.
Yeah, no, you're probably better off without it. No, you're good. You're good. Trust me.
Most thanks. Next time, Sam. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Gig. Thank you.